Okay, I'm working on this 2015 Cadillac CTS, and it had codes P069E for fuel pump control module requested MIL illumination. Had that stored twice, and there's also a code P151E 00 active grill shutter actuator signal missing, or message missing. And strangely enough, that code right there is the cause of that fuel pump control module code. Somewhere there was a software programming glitch, and some year models have the fuel pump control module mounted to the rear of the vehicle above the axle as a separate unit, but this unit has a chassis control module that is inside the trunk, and it contains the fuel pump control module, the air shutter module, and something else. I forget what it was, but it has 3 different functions built into it. And like I said, they just got crazy and they didn't list everything right, but that fuel pump control module code is actually being caused by an air shutter problem. And in this video, I'm going to show you where I found the break in the wire, and we'll go from there. And hopefully I'm going to be able to go in there and show you the shutter working too. Closing in on the problem for the air shutters, and what I found is this wire was broken right where the curve is, and I think what happened is this connector got pulled when the front end got knocked off this vehicle. And there's only 2 wires that go that direction. This black wire, which seems perfectly fine, doesn't have any stretchiness to it at all, and then this one right here. So what I'm gonna have to do is I'm gonna have to open this harness up back into here, make a splice back here, come back through, make a splice further down here, so we don't have a joint right there in the bend. Let me see what I can do about getting this apart. Now let me see if I can get back to doing this. I want to get in here and release this clip and then slide that tab out of there so I can reuse this retainer if at all possible. Sometimes it's a little easier said than done. There we go. Now we got that out. Now I can go further back up in this harness, hopefully. This thing kind of sucks because you got to pick at it a little bit because the seam is on the back side. I don't know if I can get to it and slice it open or not. Let's see. There we go. About pulling this tape out. There we go. Now we got our wire right here. So now I'm going to cut it back into here, splice into it, then make that bend with new wire. And we're going to go somewhere right about here. Now I want to see how much of this can be filled up. Yeah, I think I could probably bend that in half and double it up, so I think I will strip some more wire off of that, or some more insulation off of it. Now we'll take and bend this in half, approximately. And that doubles up the wire material. There we go there. Let's see about getting some heat on that and shrinking it in place. There, that's that. Okay, now we want to put a little dab of tape around that, kind of hold it in place. That. We're going to give a nice little curve up in here. Now what we got to do is get this loom back around it. And what I'm going to do is, this tape is already attached back up in here, so I'm going to wrap it partially back around this and give myself a foundation to build off of. There we go. Now let's see what size roll tape I can use. I think I can switch to this bigger roll. Sorry for my heavy breathing, but I'm standing on my tippy toes, working around this thing. come back around this way, make a loop there, and start working our way down. Now we're going to leave that right there and go ahead and make our splice. Going to go ahead and make our splice somewhere in here. And what I want to do is, I know I'm going to double this one up, so I'm going to cut it first. And this seems like a good location. Then I need to strip twice as much of the exposed wire as I should need to have in the terminal. That might be a little long there. Have to see how it works out. Yeah, that ought to work out pretty good. Now put my piece of heat shrink tubing down there. Now we'll get the length and everything worked out on this end, and I don't know if you can see that, but we're going to want to cut it right about there. Got to strip back. Line up our crimper. I like to keep it parallel to the previous crimp. That makes it lay a little bit neater and tighter together. Now that goes there. And then we'll slide this up. I'm going to take a second and get the heat out of that. And then we're going to make a loose tape wrap coming down here, so we'll get plenty of good bendingness or bendability into it. This is a piece of split loom that had been on it, and this scuff mark on it is what gave me a clue that there might have been something going on in this harness. And you know, I don't think it's going to go back on there quite right. It's kind of like digging a hole. You don't always have enough dirt to fill it back in right. I guess it might fit. Let me get it on there, see what it looks like. At least a little length of it. Yeah, that looks pretty good. Now we'll go ahead and wrap this all up down here. I think. Yeah, that's nice and wrapped back up. And with any luck, let me get this rolled back around here. With any luck, I'm going to be able to get this wire tie, or not wire, yes, wire tie, what am I thinking of? Get it back around this harness. Yep. And lined up in the right hole. That seems about right. That one there, somebody, did they already break it? I don't know. I can certainly do better than that. Now, let's try and figure some of this out. Does that need to go up there? I think it does. That'll wind up going right there, and I can live with that. And I'll go back and stick another one back up in this hole, but for the time being, I want to take and hook this up and make sure all my sensors and air shutters and all that kind of stuff work right. Now I have to check and see if we have power on terminal 30. That's 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30. And we have power. I hope you can see that. Yep. So I didn't have power there before, and I do after fixing that wire. So the next step is I'll turn the ignition back off, plug this grill back up to it, and see what works. Ignition is off. I'm going to see if we can get this hooked back up in here. Does that look like it's going right? It doesn't look like it's going right to me. There. That should be in there now. Now I go turn the ignition back on. Let me see about hooking this air shutter back up. Hopefully you're going to be able to see that shutter moving there. Takes a little while. It's about a 30-second to a 1-minute routine. And there it goes, it closed. And it should be fixing to open back up. Now it's closed, and hopefully we're going to go through this test, and yep, there it goes open now. So we've seen it move open and close. Everything's good and the code is gone. I gotta let it finish running through this test. And there it closes again. So it's all working good. And I just got to finish waiting for this test to complete. And it's like a 2-part test, so we got to wait on it. And it says it's successful, so that's good.